No, selfishly, as an airline investor, I think the longer the MAX is actually delayed and out of the schedule, it actually has a pretty positive impact on yields because there's just fewer seats to sell in the marketplace. You're correct. Delta doesn't have any exposure to the Boeing MAX right now. I think you did leave out Southwest, though. I mean, they're probably the most exposed given that they only fly the 737, and all of their growth plans are predicated on the MAX looking forward. So this is a real headache for Gary Kelly and Doug Parker at Southwest and American. I think we heard that echoed today on the conference calls.
And so, Brandon, if this MAX doesn't return to service as previously planned in early June and it gets pushed out further, and you talked about that capacity and how it's good for yields, but what happens to the customers and to the prices? I mean, can you talk about the market there?
Well, I think we're seeing it, from carriers like JetBlue today. Airbus has even seen delivery delays on their NEOs, which is the new A320 aircraft family. But they are leasing in some older used aircraft. So I could see, potentially plans being drafted at Southwest and American where we take an older aircraft. But we're just not at that point yet. I think the broader question here for especially airline investors, these are really cheap stocks. I mean, we're talking single-digit PEs. And what we're seeing is very healthy demand growth. I mean, last year alone, domestic U.S. revenue was up 5%. And again, that's with roughly half of the fleet, the growth fleet grounded. So I think, that's what Gary Kelly and everyone's, American Airlines is trying to convey today. There's a lot of pent-up demand. So when we do get these aircraft back, we're going to see a lot of growth.
What about the impact of the coronavirus? The World Health Organization not yet sort of calling the highest levels of alerts, but certainly aware and following it closely. What does that do to the airline business? And at what point may it get serious?
Well, I know it's day to day. I even know some of my friends are afraid to travel now. But keep in mind, as of yesterday, United was even saying we're not seeing any impact in bookings or revenue trends. Now, obviously, that can change very quickly. If we go back to 2003, when we had the SARS epidemic in Asia, I think traffic in the Asia-Pacific region was down close to 8%. So this could become significant. I think we've seen that actually reflected in airline stocks the past week. But keep in mind, the majority of revenue here, even for like United that has the most exposure to the Pacific, the majority of earnings and revenue and potential here is really in the domestic U.S. travel market.
Let me turn back to the 737 MAX. Do you think it's an airplane that people are going to feel safe flying?
Well, I'm a little biased myself because I'm a commercial pilot, but I would say, at the right fare, a lot of people are willing to take risks. So I don't want to sound disingenuous about it. But I think worst case, we could actually see this recertified as a separate type, very specific pilot training. I do think with all the, very significant review that we've gone through here, this should be a pretty safe aircraft to fly once it's certified.
So you as a commercial pilot would have no qualms flying it?
I mean, as long as the FAA has gone through this approval process and we do get, pilot training certified properly, I wouldn't have an issue.
You trust the FAA?
I don't know if I'm going to comment.
All right. Well, then